Hi everyone. This is going to be our recorded video for day 5 and 6. I'm just going to go through the slides. We're going to talk about the topic selection assignment and the research aspect of that and such and so on. All right, I'm going to make myself tiny. Okay, so it's freezing. I was just in a graveyard in the cold wind. So it was terrible and cold, and I just got changed in my comfies, so we're ready to go. Okay, so squad goals for today are going to be to review the topic selection and research assignment, which is what you should have looked over for last Wednesday and filled out the Google form, and understanding what contemporary contentious issues are. So let's rock and roll. So here's a brief overview, essentially. You're going to focus on one contemporary contentious issue to research and write about all semester. One strategy for this is to start locally, or you can think about this in a more global context in terms of how it affects our lives. So if I were to do a local context, maybe I look online and I see, okay, Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School downplays impact of warning letter on its accreditation. And this was because of COVID and the years where everyone did like Zoom University. So my topic could be how the pandemic affected educational opportunities for college students. You could even go beyond that. You could talk about how the pandemic affected educational opportunities for all students. This could be like development, child development, if you're interested in that, such and so on. How families who need assistance paying their water and sewer bills aren't getting it because only a few water utilities are giving help. So that could be lack of social services for struggling families. Philly's lack of oversight on grant funding. This is a recent thing where it seems like he had like a good idea, but then he used a lot of the funding to pay himself, which is not what you're allowed to do. And then violence and suicide on Rowan University's campus. They could just be mental health crises and lack of resources or not enough resources on college campuses in general. All right, so those are some examples. I'm going to hide this. Great. What is a contemporary contentious issue? So contemporary means happening right now in the present. So I couldn't talk about gay marriage laws because gay marriage laws already exist in the United States. It's not a contemporary issue. Same thing with like whether or not we should have electricity. We already have electricity. So you have to make sure that it's modern, happening right now. Even if it was something that happened a while, like 5 years ago, but is no longer really like a topic of discussion, that makes it not contemporary. Contentious meaning there are multiple sides to the issue. People actively have arguments about this issue. So it can't just be smog is bad. Like, okay, yeah. What could make something contentious then is how to handle smog. Is it we have to get rid of gas stoves? Is it we have to convert factories? What is it? What needs to change? The gas stoves thing just came in my head because we were just talking about that with my family. So contentious. So there are multiple sides. It's not just going to be everybody agrees on the same thing and this is what you have to do. Stakeholders. So this is kind of where you could have something that's contemporary and contentious, but there aren't really stakeholders. So stakeholders are a variety of people who this issue affects, and therefore a variety of people with opinions about what to do about it. And when I say affects, I mean like it harms them in their daily lives, or it's currently a problem. So there is something wrong that needs to be fixed. So we're going to kind of go through a couple of examples. So is this a contemporary contentious issue with multiple stakeholders? Shark attacks. Take a second, think about it. Is it contemporary? Is it contentious? Are there a variety of stakeholders? Okay. No, it is contemporary. It is something that happens. It's not very contentious of a topic. What are we arguing? Shark attacks are bad. That's not really an argument. Maybe if you could somehow figure out what we should do about it, maybe there's contention there. But the biggest problem is there just aren't that many stakeholders. There's only about 16 shark attacks per year in the US. Sharks aren't like, swarming boats and like taking out entire crews. It happens, but even then, like, not that many people even die from shark attacks. Like, it's just not, there aren't enough stakeholders, so therefore it's not necessarily an issue that I see you finding a lot of information or perspectives on. Okay, contemporary contentious issue, gun control laws. Is it contemporary? Is it contentious? Are there multiple stakeholders? Take a second. Okay. Yes, this is contemporary. This is a major thing going on that we've been talking about right now. It's incredibly depressing to even say this, but after every mass shooting, we start talking about gun control laws again. And it happens, and gun violence happens every single day in the US. It's contentious because there's different aspects to look at. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about rules that we should put in place? Are we talking about a gun ban? Are we talking about like how we should handle, like, are there rules for storage? Who should get in trouble for the misuse of a gun? There's all kinds of aspects and perspectives to take from this. And there's many stakeholders. There's people of color, there's women, there's domestic violence victims, there's mass shooting victims, there's children, adults, LGBTQ plus community, suburban, urban, rural, all over the place. So there's tons of perspectives that you can get. Okay, next one. Minimum wage raises. Is this contemporary? Is this contentious? Are there multiple stakeholders? Take a minute. Yes, it is contemporary. We're still talking about continuing to raise the minimum wage. We talked in 2011 about raising it to $15, and we're only now hitting it. So we're going to continue to talk about it. In fact, there are several people in Congress who are looking to do more of like everyone kind of gets the same wage federally, so a federal minimum wage, and also raising tipped wages. So then there's a couple of things you can go off of, right? So it's contentious because with inflation, is $1 a year enough? Would this hurt small businesses? Would this help the local economy? Are we taking in consideration the fact that everything has become more expensive and cost of living has risen since the pandemic started? What do we need to do? Is it a good idea? What needs to happen for this to work? And there are many stakeholders: people of color, women, men, LGBTQ plus communities, small business owners, customers, anyone that wants to buy anything. And then people who were affected by losing their jobs and going on unemployment. Having been a person that went on unemployment during this time, during COVID, and got that extra boost, it was amazing. It was like, oh my God, I can live. So then there's like different things like that. There's a lot of other things to talk about because then within the stakeholders themselves, there's the employees. So there's food service workers, there's retail workers, there's gas station attendants, there's then the tipped wage workers, which are servers and bartenders and bussers. And so what needs to happen? So there's all kinds of perspectives to take away from this. Who will win the Super Bowl? Is this a contemporary contentious issue with multiple stakeholders? Contemporary, contentious, multiple stakeholders. Take a second. This one's a little tricky. Ready? Go. No. So here's the thing. It is contemporary, obviously. It happens every year. And it's happening next weekend. Contentious. It's pretty contentious, right? I mean, who's going to win this? Some people say it's the Chiefs. Some people say it's the Eagles. Some people don't care at all and are just here for the halftime show. There's contention. But there isn't really tried and true data. So that's where it kind of becomes a problem. There are sports analysts. People can predict things based on past events. But here's the big problem. There aren't really stakeholders. There is nothing at stake if the Eagles lose or win. There's nothing at stake if the Chiefs lose or win. Nobody's really going to be very affected in a social way. It's not really an issue or a problem. It's a question, but it's not necessarily going to harm anybody. I guess you could maybe argue that that if the Eagles win, in the entirety of Center City will be affected, but like, it's not going to. Nobody's going to starve if the Eagles lose. Like, it's just not. There's not enough perspective, and it's also kind of limited because, like, who can really go to a football game and who's going to the Super Bowl? People with money. We can all watch it on TV, but I have to go somewhere else to go watch it on cable because I don't have cable. So it's a limited scope in that aspect. It's not really affecting the population. Okay, so I did also create a big old master list of topics. So you can click on that link. It's also in Canvas. So here's a big old list of topics. I'm actually going to add some more stuff because I realized while I was falling asleep last night that I could also add diverse perspectives. So I could add more like LGBTQ related things. I could add transgender sports. I could add all kinds of stuff. So there's some really good other things too. I went through your Google Forms, and these were some of the things that I saw that you guys put in there. These are some of the things that could work as topics. Cryptocurrency. This one was really interesting. The thing that you would have to consider with cryptocurrency is like finding the right question to ask to make it contentious. And that's one of the issues. That's some of the issues with some of the topics, is that you need to ask the right question. If you just asked, what is cryptocurrency, that's obviously not an argument. But if you were trying to determine if it helps the economy or hurts the economy, if it is an accessible means of currency, then that would make it contemporary and contentious. Stakeholders could be really anyone that makes money. Who controls the crypto market? Like, who gets to benefit from it? Who loses out on things because of it? So you do have multiple takes, and you'll get multiple types of ideas from that. Another one was George Santos, lying as a politician. So this is contemporary and contentious because on one hand, there's all these people that are very like, what the hell? Why did you lie? And also, how dare you take money from your campaign trail? But on the other side, there's still a lot of people that defend him. There are people that are disappointed that he stepped down from the committee, while others are like very happy that he stepped down from the committee and think he shouldn't even be there at all. Stakeholders, everyone in New York who has him as a representative. So people who are in his district are extremely affected by him, but in the broader scope, it also affects every American. So we kind of talked about this in section 19, but just because George Santos did it, who's to say that other people wouldn't do it? Stuff like that. Policing in the U.S., contemporary and contentious. Cops are overburdened with tasks. In Philadelphia, if you report a robbery, nobody's going to come to your house probably because they're going to have to respond to something else very soon, and they're very limited in their resources. But at the same time, they're also trained to be aggressive. So there's a couple of ways that we can look at policing. Is it necessary to have a police officer respond to a mental health crisis? Is it necessary for a police officer to have to do mounds of paperwork? Like, there's all kinds of things that you can kind of look at. There's lots of different scopes. And it affects pretty much anyone who is a citizen of the United States. Police are the first person that you go to when there's some crime going on. So there's all kinds of ways of interacting with them. And then I kind of listed these other ones. So chat bots AI, illegal immigration and border control, unauthorized taking of classified documents from the White House. Supreme Court, I would say specifically kind of considering how much power they have. And then even Roe v. Wade, them nullifying Roe v. Wade could be another aspect that you could look at. Welfare, is it enough? Is it not enough? Is it too much? Do we need more? Could we have welfare services for other things? Legalizing prostitution, I thought was a really interesting one. So it's just kind of like trying to figure out things that fit. The topics and issues sheet is not your like end all be all. It does not mean that you have to pick something from this. It doesn't mean you have to pick something from the slides. If you have something that you think is contemporary and contentious and uses multiple stakeholders, go for it. This nice big long list is just like if you're stuck and you have no idea what you want to do, you can just kind of pull from it. And I'm really interested in seeing like a variety of these. So it would be awesome if people, like, I really hope somebody does a cryptocurrency one because I'm really interested in that. Cryptocurrency, I just like I don't even mess with because I don't know. It's too much for me to try to figure out. My brain is too tired. So on the flip side, these are things that I saw that wouldn't work as topics for our purposes. So again, it needs to be contemporary. It needs to be contentious. I saw the cosmic introspection of space. And when I clicked on it, it more or less was just explaining how cool space is and how old you would be when this one thing lands on, I think, Mars. I don't really remember. It's contemporary, sure, but I would need a little more pull. I would say that if maybe you were talking about, is space like a necessary thing for us to travel, that could be a good argument. A lot of people argue that like the wealthy are going up into space, but we're out here and there's like all this homelessness and they're not helping others instead. Like that could be an argument. It would just have to be way more specific. I would just need more. You would need to show me that there are stakeholders. Other than just the wealthy people that are going into space, because like I can't go into space. I don't want to go into space. But like if I were to be like, I'm going to be an astronaut, like I couldn't just up and do that. I have responsibilities. Also, global consumer strategist Aparna Bharadwaj, I think that's how you say it, Bharadwaj, maybe, shares a fascinating glimpse at under-the-radar affinities that transcend cultures and borders. It's very contemporary, but I'm not sure I see contention. This seems more like I see a strategy for how to bring people together, but I don't see a fight. I don't see, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a fight. I don't see a problem. I don't see an issue. Maybe if this was talking about, if this was something you used as like support for like anti-racist practices, maybe. But I, again, would need a lot more explanation. The last one, school uniforms, contemporary, I guess, contentious, sure. I just honestly think it's boring. Genuinely, the only people that are affected by school uniforms are parents and children. Parents have to buy the clothes. Children have to wear the clothes. And then that ends. Like, once you hit high school, it's over. So it's really only people 18 and under and their parents. It's a common argumentative essay topic. I just think it's played out. So I would just say don't really do school uniforms. Pick something else. Pick something that affects more people that's more interesting. Okay, so you'll submit your official topic to me via a Google Doc on Friday. We will talk about that on Wednesday. Don't worry about it right now. Once you have selected your topic officially and you've submitted it to me, you'll be conducting research and responding to the following questions. So this is when you're going to do a large amount of your research on all sides. So you'll start with, how is the issue defined and what is its historical context? What's the conversation around it? What makes this a contemporary contentious issue? How did this issue begin? How can it be improved? Like, how has it changed over the years? Then you'll talk about the significance from multiple perspectives. How does it affect most people? Is it financially? Is it socially? Is it making people feel like they're part of a community? Is it alienating? Blah, blah, blah. Who are the multiple audiences involved and affected by the issue? Why are they engaged in the issue and how does it affect them? So audiences could include women, men, children, high school students, Black women, trans men, gay, straight, lesbian, whatever. All kinds of audiences can be affected, and that's kind of like what you saw me do when I did that here. So the stakeholders, that's kind of what we're considering for the audiences. So who are the audiences? Who are the people affected? Why are they engaged in the issue? So what is the cause of the issue? What caused them to be here? So if they're engaged with the issue, it could be because they're not making enough money. It could be because they're being singled out. They are being oppressed. They are being gate-kept out of certain communities. What is the cause? And then finally, what are the major points of debate? So this is where you'll show the different conversations happening. Who is pro this thing? Who is against this thing? And what are the other arguments? What are the things that are in the middle of the road? So you're not necessarily going to be doing pro-con, but you will be looking at a variety of perspectives. And it's also important to think about what has prevented solutions from coming. Is it the government? Is it current laws? Is it just people aren't aware of it and need to be aware of it? What is it? What's preventing solutions? And then while you're doing this, all of these things kind of play into each other. So you'll probably have to do a little bit of research to do part one. Part two is what I just talked about, and that's when you'll have to do a lot of research. And while you're doing this research, you're going to start building your annotated bibliography. So what I would say to do is while you are working on part one and part two is start to keep a list. Open a Google Doc under the annotated bibliography folder and start saving links. When I construct annotated bibliographies, I pull all of the articles that I'm using and I just keep them in there, and then I'll do the citations later. Having them there is helpful. What an annotated bibliography is it's essentially an explanation of all of the sources that you've used and how they have helped you. So each source will require 2 paragraphs. The first is just going to be a summary. Tell me what the article is about. Remember that I'm reading this, and so I will need to know what it is. Everybody's going to have 8 sources. So I have 20 students and 15 students. So I have 35 students. Multiply 35 by 8. That's how many sources I will have to interact with. So please summarize well. We'll talk more about it, obviously, but keep in mind, you have to have an annotated bibliography by the end of the semester. So be on top of it and don't lose all of your sources or get them mixed up. So start putting them in a Google Doc and you'll be good to go. So that all being said, due Wednesday, there's one Google form that you have to complete, covers academic integrity, APA, and lateral reading. Then there's a hypothesis annotations assignment. So finding the good argument, or why bother with logic, kind of is a restructuring of the way we think of arguing. And then you're going to do your tentative topic selection. So you're going to tell me what your top topic is that you're considering working with. And then I want you to respond to 2 other classmates to tell them whether or not it's contemporary, contentious, and multiple stakeholders, and explain why. This is for a couple of reasons. One, it's to get you to say, this is what I want to write on. 2, it helps other people see what other people are doing, gives them an example for what they can do. 3, lets me know that we're all on the same track and that we're all on the right page. Same track, all on the right track, all on the same page. I mixed up my idioms. Interesting. So it's just kind of I'm just kind of scanning just to make sure that everyone's doing like what they need to do. Remember that your topic is not going to be an argument yet. So it needs to be a little general. Obviously, there might be something where I'm like, hey, what about this are you going to talk about? Because just some topics are like, I need a little more just to make sure that you're going the right way. And then on Friday at 11:59 p.m., you will complete part 1 to the topic selection assignment. There is an example on Canvas under our modules. If you want to take a look at it, if not, don't worry about it. I'll give you time to work on your topic selection in class. You'll kind of do some general research just so you have a general awareness. Like, you can go on Wikipedia and just kind of read some things. You don't necessarily need to save any articles yet. And then part 2 to the topic selection assignment will be due next Sunday, 2/19. I tried to have things done for you guys because I don't even know what things are going to be like on Monday because the Super Bowl's on Sunday. So I'm trying to kind of keep it low key, but also keep us going. Because this essay needs to be done before the end of February. Get ready, baby. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. But otherwise, I will see you all on Wednesday. Bye.